This week on At the Movies with Ebert and Roeper, the best movies of 2007.
You are a legend.
I'm an accomplice!
Some big hits, some you missed, and some now available on DVD.
The real things.
Yes.
Sounds like
Today we each list our top 10 films of the year.
There's a whole ocean of oil under our feet!
For some 3 decades, this program has celebrated the best movies of the year on a special annual show. This is my 8th year doing the honors, and joining me for the 2nd year in a row is New York Times film critic A.O. Scott. Welcome back, Tony.
Time flies. So have you seen any good movies this year?
A lot of good movies this
me
year.
too.
Let's get right to it. At number 10 for me is Paris, Je t'aime. Now, don't let that fancy French title fool you. This is a very accessible collection of 18 short films, and I gotta say I loved about 15 of them. Some of the world's most creative directors, including Alexander Payne, Gus Van Sant, and the Coen brothers, work with stars such as Natalie Portman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Elijah Wood, Juliette Binoche, and Steve Buscemi. Experiencing Paris, Je t'aime is the cinematic equivalent of reading a wonderful book of short stories.
T'es un tueur. Tu dois être un habitué des salles de sport.
If you missed Paris, Je t'aime in theaters, it's now available on DVD, as is my number 9 pick. It's the breakout indie musical of the decade, Once. The entire budget for this film wouldn't cover the catering fee on Dreamgirls, but this rough little diamond is pitch perfect in nearly every scene. When these struggling musicians finally get their chance to make a recording, it's one of the most inspirational and uplifting movie moments of the year.
When your mind's made up, when your mind's made up, there's no point trying to fight it.
At number 8, the equally inspirational Superbad. This raunchy yet sincere high school comedy has the same mixture of raunch and slapstick and heart as some of the classic teen flicks from the early 80s, such as Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I missed you.
I missed you too.
I want the world to know. It's the most beautiful thing in the world.
Boop, boop, boop.
The humor here is perverted, warped, stupid, and immensely effective. Even when I was cringing, I was cracking up.
Can I call you McLovin?
No.
But I do love you, you know.
Oh, well, thank
Boop.
you. That's beautiful.
And starting off my number 10 list, keeping it in the on the highbrow tip, is one of the most argued about movies of the year, also from the Judd Apatow factory. It's Knocked Up. Would Katherine Heigl really have had Seth Rogen's baby? Would she have slept with a guy like him in the first place? Who knows? What I do know is that this is one of the funniest, filthiest, and most insightful sex comedies to come along in quite a while. And I, for one, will never again see Cirque du Soleil without the aid of hallucinogenic mushrooms, or at least without Paul Rudd sitting right next to me.
If I shaved my stomach and my chest, I would look exactly like that. Those guys are at work right now. What'd you do today? I just lifted my brother.
At number 9, I have another comedy. This one is a lot less naughty and much more biting. It's The Savages, in which Philip Seymour Hoffman and Laura Linney, 2 of the best actors around, outdo themselves as a brother and sister coping with the decline of their father, played without cuteness or sentimentality by the excellent Philip Bosco.
What if you're in a coma?
John.
Would you want a breathing machine to keep you alive?
What the hell kind of hotel is it?
Dad, it's not a hotel. It's a nursing home.
My number 8 pick is Into the Wild, Sean Penn's sweeping, moving adaptation of the nonfiction bestseller by Jon Krakauer. Emile Hirsch is superb as Chris McCandless, a young man who sets out on an adventure that ends tragically on an abandoned bus in the Alaskan wilderness. But in spite of the somber ending, this movie is anything but a downer.
Ultimate freedom. An extremist. An aesthetic voyager whose home is the road.
Into the Wild is a celebration of the American landscape and also of the romantic individualist spirit that drives Chris McCandless and others like him.
The cinematography is so gorgeous, and then the music by Eddie Vedder. It's not, you know, like in Once, the songs are really part of a musical experience, but I thought the songs here were really woven into the storyline and a real character in the film, in a way.
They carry some of the emotion, I think.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. All right, continuing on, Mark Ruffalo, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Robert Downey Jr. give outstanding performances in my number 7 film, Zodiac. This is David Fincher's richly detailed and deeply chilling take on one of the most notorious serial killer cases of the 20th century.
Do you know that more people die in the East Bay commute every 3 months than that idiot ever killed? He offed a few citizens, he wrote a few letters, and he faded into footnote. Not that I haven't been sitting here idly, waiting for you to drop by and reinvigorate my sense of purpose.
Another brilliant murder mystery, my number 6 pick, Ben Affleck's directorial debut, Gone Baby Gone. Casey Affleck gives the best performance of his career as a fledgling private eye. The Afflecks have these Boston neighborhoods in their blood. Every scene rings true.
Murder's a sin.
It depends on who you do it to.
That's not how it works. It is what it is.
And Tony, the last 10 minutes of this film stayed with me for weeks and weeks, and I'm still thinking about them, the choices, the moral choices that are made there.
Well, those are two very, very dark, very violent, but very well-observed movies. Zodiac, in particular, I think it got a little bit overlooked, maybe, by audiences at the beginning of the year, but I think that's one that people are going to be watching and going back to and thinking about.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be a
piece
big
of
hit and a lasting hit on DVD.
I think so. And number 7, I have There Will Be Blood, a tour de force from Paul Thomas Anderson about a ruthless oil man in early 20th century California. What I love about this movie, apart from Daniel Day-Lewis's mesmerizing, terrifying lead performance and Johnny Greenwood's brilliant score, is the picture's uncompromising strangeness.
When do we get our money, Daniel?
I look at people and I see nothing worth liking.
This was a great year for American movies, but I think some of the most interesting films on the festival circuit these days come from Romania, where a generation of young filmmakers is reviving that country's cinematic traditions. Number 6 on my list is 1208 East of Bucharest, the debut feature from Corneliu Porumboiu. You've probably never heard of it, but it is available on DVD and well worth checking out.
Dacă Ghereta era acolo și voi erați în fața statuii, n-avea cum să vă vadă, nu? Ia, gândește-te un pic, domnule. Să zicem că Doșterescu este statuia, nu? Mă vezi? Mă vezi? Nu mă vezi?
This is a modest, small-scale picture, but its deadpan humor is irresistible, and its humane skepticism is both touching and refreshing.
It's a big, amazing, wonderful world of cinema out there, which we sometimes forget here in the States. I think with Anderson and with David Fincher, when they make a film, you know it's going to be ambitious, it's going to be different, and even their failures are really fascinating to watch. And in these two cases, with There Will Be Blood and Zodiac, their triumphs are not failures at all.
I think it's very heartening that there's still a place for these big, ambitious, daring, maybe a little bit out of control pictures to
Give
get
them a big
made.
canvas and let them paint. Absolutely. All right, coming up next on this special show, a little movie that's a must-see.
That was magical.
Plus, the greatest anti-biopic of the year.
Who said I was sincere?
Who is this guy?
So you are what you are in this world. That's either one or two things. Either you're somebody, or you ain't nobody.
New York Times film critic A.O. Scott and I are counting down the best movies of 2007. I've never had so many crime dramas on my list, including my number 5 pick, American Gangster. Director Ridley Scott maps out a riveting blueprint telling us the parallel stories of Russell Crowe's crusading cop and Denzel Washington's ruthless drug kingpin.
You know what? You can do whatever you want to do. So it don't mean nothing to me for you to show up tomorrow morning with your head blown off. You understand what I'm saying?
Hey, Frank, get in line.
I have to say the film I most wanted to share with fellow movie lovers this year was Juno. First, Diablo Cody's screenplay was hailed as a masterpiece. Then there was a backlash calling it precious and contrived. You know what? It might be both, but rarely has the writing in a film been celebrated at the same level as the direction and the performances, and I love to see that.
Because you're like the coolest person I've ever met, and you don't even have to try, you know?
I try really hard, actually.
After a couple of viewings, I still have a big crush on this movie, Tony.
It's a wonderful movie. I mean, this is definitely in my top 20. Also, Jennifer Garner and Jason Bateman. And I think you're right. This does just improve every time you see it. I'm glad to hear you're still standing up for it.
Absolutely.
My number 5 pick is the best political thriller of the year, I think. It also happens to be one of the best documentaries of the year. In Terror's Advocate, director Barbette Schroeder examines the career of a French lawyer named Jacques Vergès, a smooth-talking fellow who has represented not only international terrorists, but also dictators, former Nazis, and other attractive characters.
Vous n'avez aucune qualité pour me juger. Vous êtes des occupants. Je suis un patriote.
So many bombs were exploding, so many people died, and I was the reason.
My number 4 pick is also something of a history lesson. It's the great musical anti-biopic of our time. Not Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, although I like that one too, but I'm Not There, Todd Haynes' historical collage in which 6 different actors play different versions of someone who more or less resembles Bob Dylan.
2 words on Shakespeare, Mr. Quinn, for our listeners.
2 words. Raving queen and cosmic amphetamine brain. I dig Shakespeare.
There's not a lazy or an obvious image in the whole thing.
I believe there was a scene with Dewey Cox duetting with Kate Blanchett, but it was cut out of the final version of the film. Yeah, very creative stuff there. Yeah. You know, Tony, just for a second, I want to talk about documentaries, too. Yeah, I'm glad to see you have one on your list, because I easily could have found room for 3 or 4 documentaries, but then I find myself going on a different road. But Crazy Love was a documentary that stuck with me. The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, the amazing story of those 2 rival video game guys. So a lot of strong documentaries
No
this year
End
as well.
in Sight, also, Charles Ferguson's about the early days of the Iraq War. Really good. Coming up next, the best bloody musical of the year.
The years, no doubt, have changed me.
Plus, it's the most chilling serial killer since Hannibal the Cannibal as we count down the best films of 2007.
From the award-winning director of Pride and Prejudice comes the one epic love story that has everyone raving. It's a ravishing romance that will be talked about for years.
Come back to me.
The chemistry between Keira Knightley and James McAvoy is white hot. An enduring cinematic masterpiece that is the most achingly romantic movie since Titanic. Nominated for more Golden Globe Awards than any other film, including Best Picture of the Year. Atonement, rated R, now playing.
15 years dreaming I might come home to a wife and child.
Benjamin Parker.
No Barker. Sweeny Todd now, and he will have his revenge.
It's a horror movie. It's a musical. It's the first movie I've seen in a long time that actually gave me nightmares. I'm talking about my number 3 film, Sweeny Todd, Tim Burton's bloody, black-hearted adaptation of Stephen Sondheim's musical. Johnny Depp is scarily charismatic as the murderous Sweeney, and he sings pretty well too, turning this character into a kind of demonic rock star.
Who, sir? You, sir?
No one's in the chair. Come on, come on. Sweeney's waiting. I want you, bleeders.
And at number 2, to lighten the mood, I have the most purely delightful new movie I saw in 2007. My enjoyment has only increased every time I've seen it again. It's Ratatouille from the great Brad Bird and the mighty Pixar brand. This movie is profound, surprising, and meticulously attentive to visual and narrative detail. I think it's about as close to perfect as a movie can get.
I'm going back to March now for my number 3 pick, The Lookout. You know, I call this film a masterpiece when it was released. Check it out on DVD. I hope you'll agree. Scott Frank's writing credits include Minority Report and Out of Sight. His writing-directing debut is every bit that good.
I have the power.
What?
I have the money, which means I have the power, right? I have the power.
Chris, just listen to me.
No, you listen to me. 6 o'clock, the mayor's Christmas tree. I have the money, I have the power. I have the power.
Javier Bardem plays the most charismatically twisted killer since Hannibal Lecter in my number 2 film, No Country for Old Men. This is the Coen brothers' best movie since Fargo.
You know what date is on this coin? No. 1958. It's been traveling 22 years to get here. And now it's here. And it's either heads or tails. And you have to say, call it.
Well, look, I need to know what I stand to win.
Everything.
How's that?
You stand to win everything, call it.
Tony, I probably received more emails about the ending of this film than any other movie of 2007. A lot of viewers felt cheated and or confused. I would just say, you know what, watch it again, open your mind to the possibility that the last few scenes are frustrating and bizarre, but pure genius.
I agree, and I think it's always strange when people want movies to always be the same as other movies and are disappointed when they depart too much from the patterns and conventions. Because it's strange, and it is. But I think that's great that a movie 2/3 of the way through can take you someplace other than where you thought it was going to take you.
And you know, Tony, I'm not saying, oh, you viewers, you know, be as smart as me. I got it from the start, because I was a little unsettled the first time I saw it and thought, well, maybe it should have been this or it would have been more satisfying that way. But the more I thought about it, the more I appreciated what the Coen brothers
Well,
had
and
done.
I think that's a good state to be in. I like, you know, walking out of a movie, whether it's I'm Not There or No Country for Old Men, and feeling a little bit off balance, a little bit confused.
All right, coming up next, our picks for the very very best films of 2007.
Bring your vision to life at the new Wix. Now through Tuesday, Wix pays your sales tax on everything you buy store-wide. Plus get free delivery and free interest till 2013. The new Wix, creating new ideas.
We've come to that moment where we each announce our picks for the top film of 2007. Now, frankly, my top 4 titles were nearly equal, but my photo finish winner for the #1 picture of 2007, Michael Clayton. George Clooney gives his biggest, most complex, and most complete performance as a fix-it man for an upper-tier law firm. You can see the weight of years of moral compromises on his face.
There's no play here. There's no angle, there's no champagne room. I'm not a miracle worker, I'm a janitor. The math on this is simple. The smaller the mess, the easier it is for me to clean up.
But Tom Wilkinson plays the real moral center of this story. He gives maybe the most memorable supporting performance of the year as a legendary litigator who literally breaks down when he realizes the magnitudes of his sins.
I have blood on my hands.
You are the senior litigating partner of one of the largest, most respected law firms in the world. You are a legend.
I'm an accomplice.
You are a manic depressive.
I am Shiva, the god of death.
Equally strong, the work of Tilda Swinton as the chief counsel for a huge agrochemical company. Michael Clayton was directed by Tony Gilroy, the screenwriter on the Bourne movies. He knows how to piece together an intricate jigsaw puzzle, and he trusts that his audience will be smart enough to stick with it, even at times when we're not sure what the heck is going on. This is one of those films that grows stronger and richer and more impressive when you see it the second time. For me, it was just the best film-going experience of 2007.
Yeah, it's a really good choice. Very strong performances, strong writing. I love the last shot of that movie.
Yeah,
I think the way that movie ends is really one of the most kind of haunting and just interesting moments on film of this year. The best movie I've seen all year is 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. That's right, another Romanian movie, and the winner of the top prize at Cannes this year, beating out a strong field that included a lot of other movies on both of our lists. This movie, directed by Cristian Mungiu, is not for the faint of heart. It tells, in unsparing detail, the story of a college student who, in the darkest days of the communist dictatorship, helps her friend obtain an illegal abortion.
Alo, unde mergeți dumneavoastră?
Și se rezolvă altfel. Stai tu liniștită că o să fie totul bine. Nu te atunci numărul. Mi-e rău. Nu pot să cred ce se întâmplă. Nu mai vorbim niciodată despre asta, da?
Ana Maria Larința gives an astonishing performance as Gabița, a young woman whose bravery and loyalty cause her no end of trouble. And Mungiu paints a richly detailed portrait of ordinary life under totalitarianism. Mungiu, I think, is bringing a whole new level of realism to cinema, and he's made a work of art that has the rare and unmistakable ring of truth.
Tony, you are so right about the realism here. There are certain films in which you feel as if you've been just dropped into someone's life, and you're a fly on the wall, and every scene, every shot in this movie has that feel to it.
You just feel like you know something very concrete and true that you hadn't known before about what life was like in those societies. And it's also a story about friendship and loyalty and bravery and ethical choices. It's a very rich movie.
Yeah, it's a great film. All right, coming up next, we'll recap our complete lists of the best films of 2007, and we're going to tell you which of these films are now available on DVD.
Prices slashed. All Levitt's furniture stores going out of business. Save 25 to 50% and more on everything at Levitt's. Save on every living room, dining room, bedroom. All leather furniture, recliners, wall units, and more. Up to 70% off every Oriental rug, Serta, or Sealy mattress sets at prices you can't afford to miss. Millions of dollars of new merchandise arriving from the warehouse. Everything on sale. Everything must go. Don't miss this total liquidation. Levitt's furniture going out of business. All stores closing soon. 25 to 50% and more off all furniture, accessories, and Oriental rugs. Now, only at Levitt's.
Vista's Most Watched, Sunday at 11:30 on ABC7.
This week's video segment is brought to you by Raisinets. Make a deliciously smart choice with Raisinets.
And now our complete lists of the best films of 2007. At number 10 on my list is Paris, Je t'aime. Number 9, Once. At 8, Superbad. Zodiac is my pick for number 7. At number 6, Gone, Baby, Gone. At number 5, American Gangster. Number 4 is Juno. Number 3, The Lookout. Number 2, No Country for Old Men. And my pick for the best film of the year, Michael Clayton.
Do I look like I'm negotiating?
I'm still going to call you McLovin. At any rate, at number 10 on my list is Knocked Up. Number 9, The Savages. 8, Into the Wild. Number 7, There Will Be Blood. Number 6, 1208 East of Bucharest. Number 5, Terror's Advocate. Number 4, I'm Not There. Number 3, Sweeny Todd. Number 2, Ratatouille. My number 1 film of the year, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days.
You know, Tony, I look at these two lists, and the 8 years I've been doing the show, I think this is probably the strongest year where there were 10 films that easily were on the list. I could have found another 10 or 20 that deserved a spot as well.
I think so too. This was an extraordinarily strong year. Really, a lot of great films, a lot of great American movies. You know, I often am on the lookout for the weird foreign stuff, as you may have noticed, but I really found a lot of great stuff close to home.
Terrific. All right, now, out of all the movies we've discussed today, some of them are still in theaters. Many are already available on DVD, including Paris, Je t'aime, Once, Superbad, Zodiac, The Lookout, Knocked Up, Ratatouille, and 1208 East of Bucharest.
It's great that so many are already out on DVD, and which shows that there were a lot of good movies coming out all year round, even though at the beginning of the year we always complain about
Yeah, we didn't have to wait till
the
official, Oscar season to start seeing these good films.
Yeah, and there's a lot out there, and we have another year ahead of us.
Yes,
Let's
we do.
get started.
I believe Jessica Simpson has a movie coming out, so I've already
So that's
got
your number 1 already? Okay.
Front runner.
Very good.
For a recap of all the movies on both of our lists, you can go to atthemoviestv.com. While you're there, browse through more than 20 years of movie reviews in the Balcony Archive. That's it for this week. Until next week, the balcony is closed.
It's the Have It All sale at Lane Bryant. Get 50 to 80% off sweaters, shirts, denim, and more. And don't miss our Cacique semi-annual sale. All Cacique bras are buy two, get two free. That's Lane Bryant.
If you have high blood pressure like me, you need powerful cold medicine with a heart. Coricidin HBP. It won't raise your blood pressure. Coricidin HBP.
How does Emergency boost your health and your energy? With energizing B vitamins and immune-boosting C. Emergency. Feel the good.
Net Zero gives you the fastest surfing available over dial-up and virus protection, starting at $9.95. Try it risk-free for 30 days with our money-back guarantee.